Hello, welcome to my movie watching corner. So today we're going to be watching the cartoon version of Charlotte's Web. I have not watched this movie since I was a kid. It's been a really long time, and this is the only version of the story that I actually remember. I don't recall watching a live action version, but I will be watching that soon. But the movie is free on YouTube with ads, so watch it yourself if you'd like. I'm just going to be discussing all of the major differences between the book and the movie. So without further ado, let's get started.
Seen the size of the pig, and he wasn't looking forward to what had to be done.
You know, I've got a good mind to let you raise this pig. Then you'd see what trouble a pig can be.
His name is Wilbur.
Okay, so that intro was a little bit different. We have a little bit of narration instead of jumping straight into Fern stopping her dad from the axe. You get a little bit of like farm story, and I like that it tells us that Mr. Arable was not looking forward to killing the pig, because the book does not give us any of that clarity. I think it just starts with he grabbed the axe and then Fern stopped him. So I like that they gave it that little depth. The exact adoption story isn't the exact same either. I think he stops, like he doesn't kill the pig, and then he tells her to go take a bath, and then he brings the pig inside, puts it in a box on her chair, and Mrs. Arable is the one that says, well, she can raise it then. And she doesn't come up with the name Wilbur until she's on the bus for school. However, all of that doesn't matter all that much. So I kind of like the change. It keeps it a lot more succinct. It's a smaller portion. Takes a lot less time, because the entire first chapter was the adoption and coming up with his name in the book. And we are 5 minutes in, a good, like, how much? A good 2 minutes were opening credits. So we're 3 minutes into the movie itself, and we've already done the entire first chapter, which is good, because part of my issue with the book is that it rambled on about things that didn't matter for too long. I like that they're keeping it nice and succinct. I love also that so far, I think, with maybe an exception of one or two lines, it is the exact quotes from the book. It is like a dialogue-wise, one-to-one, which I really like that it's actually keeping the dialogue the same, because that means that they are forced to kind of keep the story the same as well if they're using the same dialogue. The only thing here is I feel like Fern's voice isn't very young sounding, but that doesn't make a difference. So far I'm really liking it. I think even with the very small changes they've made, I think it works.
Seems to me you've already got more wildlife than you can take care of, Haley.
Spoke a little too soon. Now he has a frog that's jumping around in all the food. That did not happen in the book. But I think it does kind of show Avery and his thoughts here by doing this, because we saw the frog from the first second we saw him, and we know that he has a frog later, and it kind of messes with Mrs. Zuckerman. But it's kind of messing with his own home now. I don't mind that. I don't think it's completely necessary, but you know, I think it tells us who Avery is a little bit, because Avery isn't very thought out in the book.
There must be something more to us than you and me.
Okay, so I was about to compliment it and be like, wow, this is actually really, really good. The song covered like the entire second chapter, where it's just kind of describing what Fern does with Wilbur, and it's kind of beautiful, and it's like telling Fern's thoughts of like, oh, he's so cute, I love him, and I feel, maybe it's just because I'm very musically oriented and I love musicals, but to me, I felt much more of a connection between her and Wilbur in that moment than I did reading the book, because it's showing them doing all of these things and like just loving each other. And I was going to compliment it because it's being so efficient, and I like that it brought up Henry Fussy, because one of the complaints I had in the book was that like, we hardly see Fern. She doesn't really have a lot of character development that we can see. We just know at the very beginning she loves Wilbur, and then at the end she kind of doesn't care about Wilbur anymore and only cares about Henry Fussy, and it seems to come out of nowhere. Because the first time we hear that name is whenever Mrs. Arable is going to therapy to ask the doctor if Fern is all right and if her obsessing over the pig is okay. So I like that they introduced him here, but he is very not what I pictured. I don't remember this whenever I watched it. It's been a very long time since I watched the movie. Based on the carnival at the end of the book, that's not who I would expect Henry Fussy to be. I wouldn't expect him to be playing the violin and the piano, and his mother to be very strict and not allow him to have pets and whatever, because they're going to the carnival and he's paying for her to go on the Ferris wheel a bunch of times, so like, or the fair. So we'll see how that plays out, but right now I'm a little bit worried about that.
He's 2 weeks old.
Then it's time for him to start behaving like a pig. Tonight he starts sleeping outside.
Okay, and also he's not too big to fit in the house when they move him outside. It's just because his dad's like, oh, he's too old now, which... Okay, I simultaneously like and dislike this. We're seeing more of Wilbur's feelings and thoughts at the beginning, which is one of the issues I had with the book. It was focused on Fern, and then it goes to Wilbur, and then Fern's not brought up again. I like that they're integrating both of them together. However, the storm... first off, Mr. Arable is the one that fixes up a place for him outside because he's too big, not because he's too old. And then this storm where he's terrified and all that doesn't happen, but I think it does show well Wilbur's character at the beginning here before he can speak, before he's interacting with other animals. It shows that he is kind of a scaredy cat. He does look to Fern as a mother because, you know, he wants her to stay and sing him lullabies and whatnot. So I think it does well, but it is a difference. This storm here did not happen, and he did not move outside because he was 2 weeks old. He moved outside because he was getting too big to live in the house.
Wilbur gotten so big, in fact, that John Arable decided it was time he stopped being a pet and started being a pig.
The next day was the saddest one Fern and Wilbur had ever known.
That was kind of supposed to, in the book, it was kind of a happy moment, which it makes so much more sense for her to be really sad and crying at this moment.
Just as soon as cold weather sets in, they'll kill you.
Okay, so that's a change. Again, it's not a very big one. It doesn't have too much consequence on things, but just to point it out, the lamb, when Wilbur asks to play, is the one that says, no, you can't play with me. I can't get in your pen, and sheep don't play with pigs. The lamb already knows that. The lamb already has this prejudice. And we already saw that the sheep doesn't like Wilbur, so of course she would go and instill that in her lamb. And then I guess it's probably around this time that he does actually learn that he would be killed, but actually it's after he meets Charlotte that he learns that he's going to be killed, not before. And when he passes out, he just wakes up on his own. The other animals don't really do anything about it until they're at the fair. That's when Templeton bites his tail. They're doing that like way early. I guess it's just going to be like a recurring gag probably, but yeah, so this happens. Him finding out is supposed to happen a little bit later, and the sheep is not really involved in the conversation about will you play with me, and all of that.
Who said that? Do you want a friend? Yes.
Okay, so they're doing it a little out of order. It is supposed to be Charlotte that comes out and talks to him and tells him what to do, but Wilbur already knows her, and so he listens to her. They switched out the part about like, I feel so lonely here, and then it's at night and she's like, do you want a friend? And then she's like, go to sleep, I'll be here in the morning. So they're switching up the order of that a little bit. I think it works because I think they're just trying to condense it. They're trying to save time so that they can have more time. I think at the fair they have a bit more time. So I understand why they're doing it. I don't dislike the change, but it is a change. They are reordering some things around here, and he should already know Charlotte. This do you want a friend thing should have already happened before the whole conversation about he's going to die.
Maybe I'll spend spin a web.
Let's see you do it.
Okay, I really like this because they're just speeding it up. And a lot of the issue I had with the book is that they were just lingering way too long on things that didn't matter, like the seasons changing and all of the individual things that are in his trough and all of that. It was just completely unnecessary. And this is moving so quickly. They're putting things together in the same scene or a lot earlier than they were in the story. And I really like that. They're not lingering too much on things that don't matter. They're making sure it's just what's the actual story. This spiders thing, though, he didn't hang from the ceiling there. He just jumped off of the pile of manure and fell down to the ground. He didn't hang from the ceiling. That's a little weird.
I never saw a gosling that tiny.
I was a runt like you once. Oh, we got lots in common.
This backs up my thing that I was saying about the book. One of the major purposes is look past people's differences and you can be their friends. We've got lots in common where it really counts. They're saying that they're in common just because they're all animals and they can talk to each other. It doesn't matter that they're different species. They can still all be friends nonetheless. I like that. I think this is a good addition. Goodness gracious. But it's not in the book at all. Like, yes, the animals do get closer, and they don't show that in the book. So I like that they're showing it, that they're all kind of friends, and they're really acknowledging, like, it doesn't matter what you look like. If you look differently than someone, you can still be their friend. I really like they're not acknowledging that, but that's not in the book. And that's why I have a problem with the book, because it just jumps place to place, and it focuses more on the scenery than it does the actual development of the people, of the animals.
You go?
I'd love to go swimming with you, but I don't swim.
Well, I'll stay with Wilbur, Mom.
I don't so much like, though, that Jeffrey is... I don't like that he kind of isolates himself from his family just because Wilbur was also a runt. That's a little funky. It doesn't make sense that he wants to stay with Wilbur a lot. And I think it makes Wilbur's desperation and reliance on Charlotte less necessary and less present because he has other friends on the barn, specifically this one little gosling. I just don't think that gosling is really necessary because to this point it hasn't even had a purpose except to be like, oh, we can all be friends even though we don't, like, we're not the same. So this song is necessary because it's in the book as well. I think it's cool to show this little, like, interesting kind of abstract look into her building her web, but it's also completely unnecessary. However, you know, if the movie's not an hour and a half long, it's not considered a movie. So I understand why they added it in here, just to add a little bit of length, because they're cutting out a lot of just the unnecessariness of the book. This is really cool looking, but it also kind of looks like nothing. So...
What are you doing?
Working?
Why so late?
Good night, Templeton.
Okay. Wait, I like that. I like they gave Templeton a moment where he's asking Charlotte, he's curious. He wants to kind of be included with the barn animals. I like that. They're giving him a little bit of depth of, like, he's a part of the barn animals too. And he does actually care.
Oh, it's all right, Wilbur. Everybody knows you're something.
Right, I like that Henry Fussy is popping up every now and then. I like that he's kind of more consistent. This is also a very slight variation. You know, the web isn't completely destroyed by a bug going in, and so he's worried about the web not working. She just does it because it's been a couple days and people stop going to visit it. That's why she renews it. So, yeah, slight variation, but it's. I think it works just as well.
Sorry, I'm busy.
Okay, and Templeton isn't busy. He's just not even there to go to the meeting. He doesn't, like, intentionally not go to the meeting.
Why don't you try over by the fence, Templeton?
That was nice, Charlotte.
She just basically almost caused Templeton to get killed. I don't know why they would include that. So in the book, he's just out at the dump or out somewhere, so he's not there whenever she calls the meeting. So he comes back and asks them to disband the meeting, and he's not helpful during it, but he's not there and walking back and forth but not participating. And she's very spiteful in that moment. She shouldn't be. In that moment, she is actually cruel because she sees a cat that is trying to catch and eat Templeton. And she tells Templeton, hey, go over there, in hopes that the cat will get him. That is cruel. That goes against the character. Like, yes, she is bloodthirsty because she has to be. She has to eat these bugs in order to live. She's not actually cruel. So that just kind of goes against the character that they set up for her in the book, and I don't like that they added that scene because it's not in the book, it's not even close to anything in the book, and it doesn't fit very well with her character. Also, the sheep is not the one that tells her how to spell terrific, she just knows how to spell terrific. But I kind of like that. That gives a little bit of depth to the sheep and the goose. Specifically the sheep. The sheep is just mean to everyone, kind of. Mean to Wilbur. Sheep don't play with pigs. A bit to the goose, like you shouldn't take any advice from geese. Yeah, I like that they kind of added that depth, but it was not in the book.
If Wilbur is killed and his straw stands empty, then you'll grow so thin we can look right through your stomach and see objects on the other side.
That line was supposed to be the goose. Sorry, the sheep, not the goose. The sheep is the one that tells Templeton if Wilbur dies, he's not going to have a main food source anymore. I think they probably did that to stay more consistent with the characters because the sheep thus far has been quite rude and not super bonding with the other animals, but yeah, it's not what happened in the book.
With new radiant action. Wilbur, run around. I want to see if you're radiant in action.
All right. At this point, she's supposed to wake Wilbur up. Again, not a big difference, but Wilbur is supposed to be sleeping at that point. And the goose isn't involved in this at all.
Radiant action, but it's interesting.
He has to win. It's the only way he can save his life.
They're still doing that, like, if he doesn't win the prize, then he's gonna die. Like, they're still making winning everything, which is one of my biggest problems with the book, that I don't like that message that it instilled in it. I really think that it should have just been, like, people would be in an uproar if they knew the name of this animal and then the animal was killed. It didn't die of natural causes. It was killed specifically to make bacon. Like, if there was a famous pig, I mean, this is a farming town, so maybe it would be different, but, like, it doesn't sit right with me. I feel like there's so many other ways to do this. It's part of the book. It has to be in the movie, obviously, but I still don't think that that's how it should go. It should be that the webs are enough. Maybe the first web isn't enough, but the second web, the third web specifically, should be enough. That Wilbur is famous enough that Charlotte's efforts actually helped him. Not that being famous or winning something is what makes life. It's literally life and death.
Let it go.
Wilbur, what's come over you?
I just can't stand any more violence.
The time has come for me to make an egg sack.
I didn't know you.
Okay, that's a different thing. In the book, Wilbur does not tell Charlotte to let any of the bugs go. He understands and just looks away, even though it disgusts him. She does not tell him about the egg sack until after she's made the egg sack. So this entire scene right here doesn't happen.
Indian summer came, and the morning
I'm sorry, what?
air dawned hot.
Indian summer? What's that? An Indian summer is a period of unseasonably warm, dry weather that sometimes occurs in autumn in regions of the northern hemisphere. Temperate regions, my bad. Okay, So just a really hot day in autumn. Okay. For the longest time, this is the only thing that I remembered from Charlotte's Web. This song. I feel like this also might have been the sheep talking in the book, but
they open the crate to put you in. Struggle. Pigs always resist when they're being loaded.
okay, so they had the sheep still do it here. So I feel like in the book, the sheep was made to be like the wise old guide, kind of, whereas the goose was kind of just like there. They've kind of swapped those a little bit because the goose has been more like talking more and helping out more rather than the sheep. So I feel like at this point, to be more consistent, the goose should have said something rather than the sheep saying that here. But it does kind of show that, like, you know, even the sheep, the people that were against Wilbur at the beginning, is warming up to him a lot more. So I guess it works.
Can I have some money, Pop? I'm gonna get a frozen custard, a cheeseburger, some raspberry soda pop.
Now don't get lost and don't get dirty.
And watch out for pickpockets.
I promise.
Why isn't Fern going?
Aren't you going with Avery?
I think I'll stay with Wilbur a while, just till he feels at home.
Well, your mother and I are...
Okay, I remember this as well, and I was a little confused when I was reading the book because I remember this happening. This is not what happens. She goes along with Avery. At this point, she kind of doesn't care about Wilbur at all. Like, later, whenever he passes out, she doesn't care. She's like, oh, he's fine now. I'm going to go to the Ferris wheel with Henry Fussy and just stuff like that. At this point in the book, she completely stopped caring about Wilbur, and it doesn't make sense. So I love that she's staying here and being like, I'm gonna make sure that he's okay. I'm going to stay with him for a little while. Because since the whole thing where she was talking about Charlotte to her parents, and her mom is like, stop talking like that because the animals can't talk, which, by the way, came to nothing in this because we don't talk to the doctor, and she doesn't say the thing about Henry Fussy and whatever. So, like, there was no point in following Fern home except just to have her there more, except she wasn't even there more. She didn't go to the farm more or be there for any of the other stuff. It doesn't make sense. Fern needs to be infused more throughout, or not there at all. I think she still needs to be more present, but I like that they are attempting to do that here. I feel like they should have done it more throughout the rest of it as well. Really, the only moments they had is hearing the stuff about, like the thing about Charlotte, and her going home and talking to her parents in the book happens twice. She's more present in the book than she was in this, because after the second one is when her mom goes to the thing and she tells the thing about the aeronauts and the spider catching the fish, which they haven't done in this. And honestly, I'm not mad about that, because I feel like those stories were kind of irrelevant and completely unbelievable. But it's just, like, I feel like she needs to be there more, like, just throughout, that, like, we see her in the crowd of people, or even see her next to the pen, like, sitting inside the barn or something, waiting on Wilbur and looking at Wilbur, or I don't know, just things like that where she's just more present throughout the entire story rather than just scenes where she's actually speaking. Like, she can just be observing, and that shows how much she cares for and goes to and seeks out Wilbur. Whereas, like, we get that thing in the beginning, we see her twice at the farm, one with Henry Fussy and one listening to the stories, and then we don't see her there again. I feel like we just need to, like, we need to see her there more. But I like that they're doing it now.
Went to see my grandpa. You know what he did? Accidentally stepped on my violin and broke it to smithereens. I've got some money, and I came to ask you if you'd like to ride on the Ferris wheel.
Gee, I'd love to.
He didn't say what happened to his glasses. And I this is supposed to be, because we've gone through the season. So initially it was spring. At some point, I think it turned into summer, and then through that one song that Charlotte sang, we saw it go through autumn and winter, and then back to spring. So it's been a year from the beginning of the movie, which I guess makes sense that he's changed a little and whatnot. But again, if we had seen Fern more, we would understand more of this. But where did his glasses go? He said his uncle stepped on his violin, or his grandpa stepped on his violin. He didn't say, oh, I got contacts, or I don't need my glasses anymore. And he didn't say, oh, my mom's cool now, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I was able to go outside, and now I don't have to stay inside and stay clean all the time, like my mom says, and whatever. I think that's what they were trying to do. I just don't think they accomplished it super well. But again, this feels almost like it's coming out of nowhere because the Henry that we know is not this Henry. It just feels a little stark to me. Like, I feel like we should have seen a little bit more development from him through Fern. But I do really like here that Wilbur feels abandoned by her because he didn't really acknowledge that Fern wasn't coming around again anymore in the book. I like that this is like he's looking after her and feeling bad.
This pig has won first prize already. Oh no!
Uncle won first prize. Why is Fern's immediate reaction to cry? It's like, oh man, that sucks. Are they getting paid? Was it going to change their life? Is it because she knows if Wilbur doesn't win, he's going to die? Why is so much pressure placed on winning?
Instructed to escort you and your famous pig to the grandstand.
Yeah, that's not what happened. They just announced it on the loudspeaker. They didn't send an entire band to escort them.
Let him walk so everybody can see him.
Again, no, they did put him in the crate. He didn't pass out and cause that big commotion. That was like a big part of the book. Like, of anything to keep, that's it because it's action. It makes sense.
I haven't even strength enough to climb down into the crate.
Charlotte, where's Templeton?
He's sleeping. There, under the straw.
Girl, wait a minute. She said she doesn't have strength enough to climb down into the crate. She just came down on a string. Land on his nose. Go into the thing. She lie.
Part of life's eternal ride.
They didn't make that like the big thing that it was in the book. Like, it was, he sees the people coming, he rouses Templeton to get the egg sack, he gets the egg sack, barely makes it, has to hold it in his mouth to make it to the crate with it, and can't say goodbye to Charlotte, and then Charlotte with her last energy waves. As they're driving away, Charlotte stays and she dies. And it's like this big, it's the climax of the story. It is the big moment. And they're just, they didn't make that anything here. It's kind of anticlimactic.
And so Wilbur
Again, her death is just so short, so small.
pile in the barn cellar.
Hello there.
You're not supposed to leave immediately. You're supposed to stay there for, I think, a couple weeks or something.
Why are you trembling?
I'm trembling with joy.
Wrong. Wilbur says that.
This hollow doorway was once the home of Charlotte. She was brilliant.
That's so much to write in a web, dude. That's not the line either. He's just supposed to be telling them about what he thought of their mother, not telling them, write this hallowed doorway in your webs when you grow up and learn to spell. Okay, that was cute. Yeah, it reminds me very much of other cartoons that I really liked as a kid, so I understand why I loved this. I don't have it on DVD though, so I don't know how exactly I watched it, but yeah, I did like that. I like that they didn't change all that much, and yet it still came across better. Like, the story was better than it was in the book. Like, they changed just small things. They combined a couple scenes together, made things shorter, and yet they kept the integrity of it. Even kept a lot of the same lines they kept. I love that they did that. They did take out a couple big scenes, like the scene of him escaping when he first got there because he really didn't like it and he felt really lonely. The goose telling him like there's a loose board, and then everybody's yelling at him and he gets really overwhelmed and he doesn't know what to do, so he just goes back. They took that out. They changed how he got the award. He didn't pass out. They didn't do the whole thing with the water. They threw in a lot more of Henry Fussy, which I really liked because it fleshes out Fern a lot more and keeps her a little more consistent. I think they definitely could have done her a little more, but yeah, I really liked the changes that they made, and really the only main changes, the main change is just taking out the thing that when he escapes, and the how he gets the award. That's really the main two differences. Everything else is just like minute changes that you only really would care about or know if you were really paying attention. Like if you were taking a test or something of like everything that happened, you wouldn't want to rely on this because things do happen very slightly differently, but it gets the exact same point across. I'm fairly certain that's the only things that they left out, but of course, you don't really remember what's left out if you don't see it. Let me look back at my old notes of, yeah, that was really good. I think they held really true to the story, and I'm happy with the changes they made. I really like that. And I like that it was a musical. I love music. I think some of the songs were a little slow for my taste. They're not the most entertaining, and the fact that the song was super slow paired with visuals that didn't really matter, I think those songs could be taken out. And then the scenes that were taken out could replace those. And I also don't understand the point of that little Gosling Jeffrey that just disappeared when they got back to the farm. So I will be watching the live action one, which I've never seen, later. It's going to be a good bit of time before I get time to, actually probably before I even upload this, so it'll probably come out soon after this is up, but not so soon as of when I'm filming this because I am quite busy this coming week. Yes. That's it. I can't think of anything else to say.